Me to say, even though I'm a graduate of Winston-Salem State University, a proud graduate, I love me some Hampton University. I have very, very fond memories of Hampton. It's just,
Oh, do you?
it holds a very, very special place in my heart. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Having said all of that, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I'm going with them against the field, not just because of Tom Brady, but because they also returned all 22 starters. I think that level of cohesiveness, that synergy is going to come in handy come postseason time. Doesn't mean they can't lose any given Sunday. Anything could happen. But if I had to bet my money on one team, it would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's who I'm rolling with for this season to repeat as champions, even though I'm sure the Kansas City Chiefs are saying we're going to have something to say about that.
Tom running it back. You know who gave him a tough time the first week? That would be the Cowboys. So there's been a lot of talk about the Cowboys' backfield. Does Ezekiel Elliott still have it as Tony Pollard passed him? Pollard has been producing. Through 2 games, he's averaging nearly twice as many yards per carry as Elliott and nearly twice as many receiving yards. Here's Jerry Jones on his running back situation.
The facts are that we really have an outstanding situation here, that Pollard gets up on him so fast and can really surprise the defense. He's stronger than he looks, but he just has got so sudden and got such a burst. And then Zeke, you don't even need to describe him. He's as powerful in terms of, I'm going to overuse the word, but his burst, I mean to tell you, he punishes the hell out of those defenders. Both of those are going to be a real staple for us as we get into the season.
Stephen A., your boy Jerry Jones.
Yes.
Is this a knock on Ezekiel Elliott?
I personally think it is, and I'm not saying that it's a knock on Ezekiel Elliott in terms of just what Jerry Jones says. There's been some talk about some slippage in regards to Ezekiel Elliott. Now, I've seen him lose the weight. I've seen him look fast, but I'm looking at Pollard, how strong he is, deceptively strong, how evasive he is, quick burst out of the gap, what he's able to do running the football. And I'm seeing a guy that has 11 less carries on the season thus far, but still has more yards rushing than Ezekiel Elliott. Now, Ezekiel Elliott was averaging 5 yards a carry throughout his career until last year where it dipped to 4. We understand that Dak Prescott going down in Game 5 of the season had a lot to do with compromising his level of productivity. Nevertheless, the truth is the truth. Right now, Pollard looks like a better running back than Ezekiel Elliott. Now, Jerry Jones isn't going to come out and say those words, but trust you me, the billionaire with the $1 billion playpen, the marketing genius that he is, a franchise that's worth $5 billion, a dude that is an absolutely shrewd negotiator. Listen, he could be saying stuff to motivate Ezekiel Elliott, to poke at him a little bit, to get him running. And then listen, Ezekiel Elliott's been blocking well. You know, Dan Orlovsky and others pointed that out. His blocking ability is there. We understand that. And he's not a scrub running the football. But what he has to accept, and we'll get into Aaron Rodgers later, because he's another one that has to accept this, along with others. There's a standard that your excellence sets. It's not like people pull expectations out of the wind and just throw them on you, okay? They don't expect that, what they expect from Ezekiel Elliott, they don't expect from most running backs in the league. But he's Ezekiel freaking Elliott, okay? He's who he is. And as a result, there's a level of expectations you have for him that he hasn't lived up to. And I think Jerry Jones notices that. And I don't think he minds us noticing that, probably because he thinks it's going to work to the benefit of Ezekiel Elliott down the road.
No, it's not a knock on Zeke. It's a promotion based on what he's seen Tony Pollard do. Zeke Elliott is still going to be a vitally important part of what they are going to do from an offensive standpoint. This dude rushed for 979 last year, and I know we highlight the fumbles, but behind an offensive line where he had no idea in hell who would be blocking in front of him. I still see burst. I still see strength. It's different running styles. See, this is the new hotness. Tony Pollard is the new hotness right now, and Tony Pollard is a really good running back. He's been doing this for a long time. But Zeke was the feature guy because this is the way they built the offense when Zeke first came in the league. And everybody focusing points at that contract. The contract is based on the production that you put forward. So now we want to go back. We want to turn the pages back and say, well, we probably shouldn't have paid Zeke, and Zeke wasn't this guy. Zeke was that guy. Zeke was in the conversation for being the #1 back in the league. And I look at this team this year, and we having this conversation about, is it a knock on Zeke? And we refuse to look at all of the elements that have changed about this football team. Like, could there possibly be some things about offensive philosophy, offensive line, the way they run offense, that changes the effectiveness of Zeke Elliott and how we thought about him when he was getting 40 carries a game? You don't want to live in that world. I know it's one anomaly, and that's Derrick Henry in Tennessee, where they hand the ball off time and time again. Different animal. Zeke is no longer in the same situation. He's no longer going to have the usage that he had early in his career, and he's no longer playing in the same offense. Zeke Elliott will go over 1,000 yards this year, and everybody will look at it and say, well, he should have ran for 1,500, or he should have ran for 1,600, because we're thinking about a few years ago when this was an absolutely different football team. You had Dak Prescott, who you didn't know would turn into what he is right now. We knew he was good and trending in this direction. This is a totally different situation to say it's a knock on Zeke Elliott.
Well, first of all, it is. You can deny it all you want to, but it is. That's number one. And number two, to show you my level of objectivity, Marcus Spears, I have to give myself credit where credit is due. Did you know that it is in my best interest for Ezekiel Elliott to run for 1,000 yards this year? Because this is my first year ever playing fantasy football, and he's the running back that I picked. Do you see that level of objectivity that I have? I had the 5th overall pick, so I had to grab him, and I grabbed Ezekiel Elliott because my first 4 running backs that I wanted were all gone. So it just shows you I'm not completely off the cliff when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys. It doesn't cloud my objectivity. And I'm still here to tell you, despite what you just said, based on what I've seen the first 2 games, with him averaging, about 53.5 yards a game, I don't see him rushing for 1,000 yards this season. He did it last season, and I think, you know why I don't see him running for 1,000 yards? Because if the first 2 games are any indication, Marcus, I see them giving some of his carries to Pollard. And by the way, let me ask you a very generic, logical question per se. Have we seen Pollard do anything that says he should have less carries?
No.
Exactly.
No.
So he's only going to get more if he keeps playing this way. So if that's the reality, that's going to compromise Ezekiel Elliott.
Stephen A., can we not look at football through the lens of they do different things? Can we not focus on the fact that both of these backs are different, and that's why you have a 2-back system? Tony Pollard will be used a lot on the edges. He'll be used in the passing game. But Zeke's carries are going down anyway. Yeah. They've been going down yearly because you have a top 10 quarterback with elite weapons on the outside.
Which is why that, combined with Pollard, is going to compromise his level of production.
But how is that a knock on Zeke Elliott? And in them circumstances, all of them have changed.
Because you paid the man $90 million, and your expectation may be, excuse me, we shouldn't have to rely on Pollard as much as we do. I'm just saying. I don't feel that way, but that's how they might feel. You never know. You know how Jerry is.
I told you in my first soliloquy, one of your favorite words, that Zeke Elliott got paid because it was designed for him to be the top back in the league and rush for a lot of yards. It is no longer that way.
I got you. I agree with that.
We'll see what happens on Monday Night Football. Eagles at Cowboys. Jalen and Dak. Let's go. Can't wait for that, guys. The news from yesterday that has everyone talking. Ben says he's officially done.